Right now, as you are listening, something is shifting in the unseen realm. God is not whispering timidly about your future. God is speaking boldly, decisively, and with authority over your life. You have struggled, you have waited, you have prayed with tears in your eyes, and you have wondered how provision would come. But today, God is declaring that the season of lack is breaking and a new flow is being released. God is pouring blessings into your bank account, not as a rumor, not as a possibility, but as a divine decision that has already been made. You must understand this truth deeply. God is not limited by numbers, systems, economies, or human approval. What looks impossible to you is simple to God. What feels delayed to you has been perfectly timed by God. You may have checked your account and seen emptiness, debt, or stagnation, but God never checks your balance before deciding your blessing. God checks your heart, your obedience, your endurance, and your willingness to trust when nothing makes sense. When God decides to bless, money obeys. Opportunities align, doors open without explanation. Favor begins to speak on your behalf where your voice cannot reach. Many people believe blessings are random, but I tell you today that blessings follow divine order. God releases provision when a person is ready to carry it without losing their soul. That is why you were not blessed earlier. Not because God forgot you, but because God was preparing you. God was building discipline in you. God was teaching you humility. God was strengthening your faith so that when the overflow comes, it will not destroy you, but establish you. Now the preparation has reached its fullness, and the release has begun. Hear this clearly. Money is not your source. God is your source. Your job is not your source. Your business is not your source. Your connections are not your source. God alone is your source, and sources never run dry. When God pours blessings into your bank account, it is not dependent on salary, contracts, or human promises. God creates streams where none existed. God commands provision to locate you. God causes resources to chase you down until they overtake you. What you could not earn through effort alone, God supplies through favor. You have been faithful in small things, even when it seemed unnoticed. You showed integrity when compromise would have paid faster. You chose patience when shortcuts tempted you. You trusted God when others mocked your faith. Every unseen act of obedience has been recorded. God does not forget sacrifices made in silence. God does not overlook tears shed in prayer. God does not ignore those who refuse to bow to fear. And now in this appointed time, God is responding with abundance that will silence every doubt. Do not misunderstand this message. This is not about greed or pride. This is about assignment. God blesses so that lives can be impacted, families restored, debts erased, and futures secured. God pours into your account so that you can become a channel, not a container. God wants your hands full so that others can eat, learn, heal, and rise through what flows from you. When God trusts someone with wealth, it is because their heart is anchored in purpose, not possession. Right now, God is correcting your mindset about money. Poverty is not holiness, and struggle is not proof of righteousness. God never intended for you to live in constant anxiety over provision. God intended peace, stability, and the ability to plan without fear. God is not glorified by your stress. God is glorified when you trust fully and walk confidently, knowing that provision is assured. The blessing God is releasing is not fragile. It is sustained, protected, and multiplied. There are people listening who have faced financial attacks that made no logical sense. Money slipped through your hands no matter how careful you were. Unexpected expenses appeared again and again. Just when you thought you were moving forward, something pulled you back. But understand this, not every delay was defeat. Some delays were divine insulation. God was shielding you from losses you never saw. God was redirecting you away from traps disguised as opportunities. God was preserving you for a greater release that could not come until now. Today, God is reversing patterns. Cycles of debt are breaking. Generational scarcity is ending. The mindset that says this is as far as I can go is being uprooted. God is expanding your capacity to receive. God is teaching you to think bigger without fear. God is training you to expect increase without guilt. Because when God pours blessings into your bank account, it is not a test. It is a confirmation that you are ready. I speak to the one who feels unqualified. God does not bless based on perfection. God blesses based on alignment. When your heart aligns with God's will, provision follows naturally. You may not have all the answers, but you have obedience. You may not see the whole path, but you have trust. God values that more than skill alone. God can teach what you don't know. God can open doors you cannot knock on. God can place your name in rooms you have never entered. Do not limit how God chooses to bless you. Sometimes the blessing comes as unexpected income. Sometimes it comes as canceled debts. Sometimes it comes as ideas that generate wealth over time. Sometimes it comes as favor that accelerates promotion. God is creative in generosity. God is strategic in timing. What matters is not how the blessing arrives, but that it arrives exactly when it is needed. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not excluded. God has been watching closely. Eve, right moment you chose faith over fear, God took note. Every time you gave when it hurt, God took note. Every time you resisted bitterness and stayed grateful, God took note. And now God is responding with a blessing that reflects the depth of your endurance. Understand this principle deeply. God does not bless to impress others. God blesses to establish testimony. When your bank account begins to change, it will not just be numbers, it will be proof. Proof that trust works. Proof that patience pays. Proof that obedience carries weight. Proof that God keeps promises even when time stretches longer than expected. Some people will not understand your elevation. They will say you were lucky. They will say it was coincidence. They will say it happened overnight, but they did not see the nights you prayed. They did not see the moments you nearly gave up. They did not see the discipline you maintained when no one was watching. God saw it all, and God is now making the unseen visible. As God pours blessings into your bank account, your responsibility is clarity, not fear. Manage what comes with wisdom. Give with joy, not obligation. Plan with confidence, not anxiety. Money is a tool, not a master. God remains first always. When you keep that order, blessing remains stable and peace remains intact. This is also a season of instruction. God will guide you where to invest your time, energy, and resources. Listen closely. Pay attention to inner conviction. God will warn you before losses and nudge you toward growth. When God blesses, God also instructs. Stay sensitive, stay humble, stay grateful. You may have felt invisible before, but favor is now highlighting you. You may have been overlooked, but God is repositioning you. You may have been underestimated, but God specializes in unexpected elevation. When God decides to bless, resistance becomes irrelevant. Delays dissolve. Obstacles move aside. Provision finds its way. Right now, I speak confidence into your spirit. Stop apologizing for expecting more. Stop shrinking your prayers to match fear. Stop preparing for disappointment. God is bigger than your past experiences. God is not limited by what failed before. This blessing is new, fresh, and tailored specifically for you. The overflow God is releasing will bring stability where there was chaos, peace where there was stress, order where there was confusion. You will no longer panic when bills arrive. You will no longer dread financial conversations. God is replacing anxiety with assurance. And this assurance is not rooted in money. It is rooted in trust. Remember this always. When God pours blessings into your bank account, it is not just about today, it is about legacy. It is about changing the future of those connected to you. It is about removing burdens that have weighed your family down for too long. It's about rewriting stories that once ended in struggle. Stay anchored, stay obedient, stay thankful even before you see the full manifestation. Gratitude accelerates reception. Trust sustains increase. God is faithful, consistent, and intentional. What begins now will continue to grow, expand, and establish itself beyond what you imagine. You are stepping into a season where provision meets purpose, where abundance aligns with responsibility, where blessing flows without shame or fear. God is doing this not to distract you, but to empower you, strengthen you, and position you for impact that extends far beyond yourself. There is a deeper dimension you must grasp, because blessing is not merely an event, it is a flow. God does not pour once and then withdraw. When God opens a channel, God sustains it. The mistake many make is believing the blessing will end the same way past seasons ended. But this is not repetition, this is transformer. God is not restoring you to what you lost. God is elevating you to what you never had. What is coming will not be fragile, unstable, or temporary. It will be rooted, structured, and guarded by divine wisdom. God is also refining your inner posture in this season. You're being trained to carry increase without panic. In the past, you worried because lack trained your nervous system to expect loss, but now God is retraining your spirit to expect sufficiency. You will notice that your reactions are changing. Situations that once triggered fear will now meet calm. Conversations about money that once caused tension will now carry clarity. This is not because circumstances suddenly became perfect, but because God is establishing authority within you. Understand this. God does not bless in chaos. God brings order first, then increase. That is why God has been correcting habits, relationships, and patterns that were draining you. Some connections ended not because they were bad people, but because they were costly attachments. Some delays happened not because God was withholding, but because God was preventing leakage. Before God fills a vessel, God seals the cracks. And now, what once leaked is being reinforced. God is also teaching you discernment between pressure and purpose. Not every opportunity that pays is aligned. Not every open door is sent by God. In this season of increase, wisdom will protect you more than speed. God will guide you to say no without guilt and yes without fear. You will sense when something feels heavy rather than peaceful. God's blessing does not arrive with torment, it arrives with clarity. You may begin to notice that people seek your counsel more. Your presence will carry weight. Your words will influence decisions. This is because provision amplifies responsibility. God does not elevate silently. God equips publicly. What God places in your hands will require stewardship, not impulse. And God trusts you with this because you have proven faithful when no one applauded you. Let this truth settle deeply. God is not reacting to your need. God is responding to your alignment. When your heart came into agreement with God's will, provision followed naturally. You stopped begging and started trusting. You stopped striving and started obeying. That internal shift activated an external response. Heaven moves when hearts move. There will be moments when the increase feels unfamiliar. Do not self-sabotage by retreating into old scarcity thinking. You are allowed to live without constant struggle. You are permitted to enjoy stability. God is not offended by your peace. God is honored when you walk confidently, knowing your provision is sustained by divine authority, not human systems. God is also healing your relationship with giving, not giving from pressure, not giving from fear of loss, but giving from overflow and joy. When giving flows freely, increase flows naturally. God is not extracting from you, God is circulating through you. What moves through your hands never leaves your life. It returns multiplied in ways you cannot calculate. There is also a quiet shift happening in how you see yourself. You are no longer defining your worth by your bank balance, yet your bank balance is aligning with your worth. This balance is critical. Pride blocks flow, but shame blocks it too. God removes both. You will stand grounded, neither inflated nor diminished, secure in identity and steady in responsibility. Do not rush the manifestation by impatience. Some blessings unfold progressively so that structure can grow alongside supply. God is more interested in sustainability than shock. What grows steadily lasts longer. Trust the pace, trust the process. God has never been late, and God will not start with you. When challenges arise, and you will notice that solutions arrive faster than before. Resources will appear where once there were obstacles. Help will come without begging. This is favor activated. This is alignment visible. This is God confirming what was already decided in the unseen. Your testimony will not be loud, but it will be undeniable. People will see consistency where there used to be instability. They will see peace where there used to be panic. They will see generosity where there used to be survival mode. And without preaching, your life will speak of God's faithfulness. Remain anchored in humility. Not the humility that shrinks, but the humility that stays teachable. God continues to pour where gratitude remains alive. Thankfulness keeps the channel open. Awareness keeps the heart aligned. Never forget where you came from, but do not live there mentally. God moved you forward for a reason. This season also carries responsibility to rest. Yes, rest. God is teaching you that exhaustion is not proof of dedication. Peace is not laziness. When you rest, you declare trust. You declare that provision does not depend on your anxiety. God works even when you pause. Expect clarity. Expect ideas that feel inspired yet practical. Expect conversations that unlock doors. Expect sudden understanding where confusion once lived. God does not bless blindly. God blesses with intelligence, insight, and foresight. As this flow continues, your prayers will shift. You will pray less from desperation and more from partnership. You will speak with confidence, not pleading. You will thank God before seeing, because trust has matured. This is the language of alignment. You are not stepping into luck. You are stepping into agreement. You are not chasing blessing. Blessing is responding to obedience. God is consistent. God is intentional. God is faithful. And what God begins, God sustains. There is also a revelation God wants to place firmly in your spirit. Increase is not meant to change who you are. It is meant to reveal who you have become. Pressure exposed weaknesses, but provision will expose maturity. When resources arrive, they amplify character. That is why God waited until your inner world was strengthened. God was shaping your decisions, refining your motives, and teaching you to hear clearly. Now, when blessing arrives, it will not confuse you. It will cooperate with you. God is also teaching you how to speak differently in this season. Words carry direction. What you declare consistently, you invite intentionally. You will no longer speak lack over your future. You will no longer joke about failure. You will no longer agree with fear disguised as realism. God has trained your mouth to align with truth. When you speak now, you speak with expectation, not desperation. You speak with confidence, rooted in trust, not arrogance. You may notice that old temptations resurface when increase begins. This is not coincidence. When God elevates, opposition tests focus. Distractions will attempt to pull you away from discipline. Ego will try to rush decisions. But God has given you discernment to recognize noise without engaging it. You will not be pulled back into cycles God already broke. Your clarity is stronger than your cravings. God is also restoring dignity where financial strain once caused embarrassment. You will no longer feel small in rooms where money once intimidated you. You will walk with quiet confidence, knowing your value is not measured by comparison. God does not bless you to compete. God blesses you to contribute. When you understand this, envy loses power and gratitude gains strength. This season will teach you the difference between accumulation and assignment. Not everything that comes into your hands is in to stay there. Some resources are transitional, meant to move through you quickly to accomplish purpose. When you release without fear, God replenishes without delay. Trust the circulation. God never empties a hand without refilling it when the heart is aligned. You will also see how God redeems time. What felt wasted will begin to make sense. Skills you developed in struggle will suddenly become valuable. Lessons learned in hardship will guide decisions in abundance. Nothing was lost. God repurposes every season. The delay was not denial, it was development. God is strengthening your patience even in increase. You will not rush to prove anything. You will not chase validation. You will move with intention, not impulse. Wisdom will guard your pace. Peace will guard your mind. God is not impressed by speed. God is honored by stability. Pay attention to how your priorities realign. What once consumed your thoughts will no longer dominate your focus. You will value peace over pressure, clarity over chaos, purpose over performance. This is evidence that blessing has matured within you. God is not only changing your circumstances, God is transforming your perspective. There will be moments when silence accompanies success. Not everyone will celebrate your elevation. Some will distance themselves. Some will misunderstand. Do not explain. Do not defend. God is your witness. Approval from people is temporary. Alignment with God is permanent. Let results speak where explanations fall short. God is also inviting you into deeper trust, not the kind that depends on visible proof, but the kind that rests even when numbers fluctuate. Markets shift, systems change, but God remains constant. Your confidence is not in stability of systems, but in the sovereignty of God. That confidence cannot be shaken. As blessing increases, compassion will deepen. You will see others differently. You will recognize struggle without judgment. You will help without superiority. This is how God protects your heart. Blessing that produces humility multiplies. Blessing that produces pride evaporates. There will come a moment when you realize you are no longer surviving, you are stewarding. That shift is powerful. Survival thinks short term. Stewardship thinks generationally. God is expanding your vision beyond immediate needs into lasting impact. This is not accidental. This is intentional positioning. Remain attentive to instruction. God speaks in subtle ways, in conviction, in peace, in restraint. Obedience in small decisions will protect large outcomes. Never assume you have outgrown guidance. Dependence keeps a channel open. What God is releasing will require courage to receive. Yes, courage. Sometimes receiving is harder than waiting. You must allow yourself to step into what God prepared without guilt, without fear, without hesitation. You are not stealing someone else's portion. This is yours by divine decision. You'll look back one day and realize the shift did not begin with money. It began with trust. When your heart surrendered fully, provision followed naturally. God honors alignment more than effort, and alignment always produces fruit. There is another layer unfolding now, one that many overlook, and that is authority. When God blesses, God also grants authority over fear, over confusion, over the voices that once dictated your limits. You will no longer feel controlled by urgency. You will no longer make decisions out of panic. Authority brings calm, and calm sharpens judgment. This is why God waited, because authority without maturity becomes recklessness, but authority with wisdom becomes legacy. God is also shifting how you interpret resistance. Opposition no longer means you are doing something wrong. Sometimes it confirms you are moving correctly. When blessing increases, pressure tests focus, but you are no longer easily shaken. You have learned to pause, to listen, to respond instead of react. God has trained your spirit to remain steady even when the environment is noisy. This steadiness is protection. You are entering a season where obedience will feel simpler, not easier, but clearer. Confusion fades when purpose is defined. God is removing unnecessary complexity. You will know what to pursue and what to ignore. You will sense when to move and when to wait. This clarity is part of the blessing. Without clarity, increase becomes burden. With clarity, increase becomes freedom. God is also restoring trust in your own discernment. There were times you doubted yourself because past decisions cost you dearly. But God used those moments to teach, not to shame. Now your judgment is sharper, your intuition calmer, your decisions more grounded. God does not keep reminding you of past errors. God equips you with present wisdom. Watch how your environment begins to change. Conversations shift. Opportunities present themselves naturally. You are not forcing alignment. Alignment is meeting you. This is evidence of divine orchestration. When God moves, multiple elements adjust simultaneously. What once required effort now flows with ease. There is also a deep internal healing taking place. Financial strain carries emotional weight, and God is lifting that weight gently. The tension you carried in your body, the quiet worry you masked with smiles, the nights you lay awake calculating possibilities, those patterns are dissolving. Peace is not coming because everything is perfect. Peace is coming because trust has taken root. God is teaching you that abundance is not loud. True increase does not announce itself with noise or pride. It settles quietly, confidently, securely. You will no longer feel the need to prove anything. Your life will speak through consistency, not display. This quiet confidence is strength. Do not be surprised if God calls you to deeper generosity of time, wisdom, and presence. Wealth is not only currency, it is capacity. God increases your capacity to carry others without being drained. This is why your energy will feel more focused. Your compassion will feel more intentional. God is multiplying you from the inside out. There may be moments when old memories surface, times when you prayed for relief and felt unheard. Let those memories pass without bitterness. They were part of the journey, not the destination. God never wasted your waiting. Every delay added depth, every struggle added discernment. Now those layers support the weight of blessing. God is also reminding you that gratitude is not a reaction, it is a posture. Thankfulness keeps you aligned even when circumstances fluctuate. Gratitude prevents entitlement and protects humility. As long as gratitude remains active, increase remains safe. You are learning to measure success differently. Not by excess, but by peace. Not by comparison, but by contentment. Not by speed, but by sustainability. These measurements reflect God's wisdom, not human pressure. When your metrics change, your satisfaction deepens. Expect moments where God asks you to trust beyond logic. Obedience will sometimes precede understanding. But you have learned that God never asks without provision attached. When you step forward in faith, resources follow in sequence. This is not coincidence, it is order. Your confidence now rests in something unshakable. Not trends, not markets, not approval, but in God's consistency. Systems may rise and fall, but God remains constant. That is why your peace is no longer fragile. As this season continues, you will find yourself more present, less rushed, more aware. Increase has slowed you down, not sped you up. That is maturity, that is strength, that is blessing in its purest form. God is not merely adding to your life, God is establishing something through you. What unfolds now will outlast trends, outgrow opinions, and outlive fear. The foundation is set, the flow is active, the purpose is clear. There is a sacred confidence God is awakening within you now, a confidence that does not shout but stands firm. This confidence is not rooted in what you possess, but in who governs your life. When God is your anchor, uncertainty loses its grip. You will notice that even when circumstances fluctuate, your inner world remains steady. That steadiness is evidence that your trust has matured beyond conditions. God is also teaching you how to wait without anxiety and move without hesitation. This balance is rare, but it is powerful. Many move too quickly and regret it. Others wait too long and miss it. But when God directs your steps, timing aligns naturally. You will feel neither rushed nor stagnant. You will sense when momentum is required and when restraint is wise. This sensitivity is a gift cultivated through obedience. There will be moments when blessing challenges your identity. You may ask yourself if you truly deserve what is unfolding. Dismiss that question immediately. Worthiness was never the currency. Obedience was. God does not reward perfection. God honors surrender. What you are receiving is not payment for effort, but fulfillment of promise. Allow yourself to receive without guilt. Resistance to blessing delays its purpose. God is also refining how you handle visibility. Increase often brings attention, and attention can distort focus if unchecked. But God has anchored you deeply enough to remain grounded. You will not be swayed by applause or discouraged by silence. Your direction is set internally, not externally. God has become your reference point. Pay attention to the peace surrounding your decisions now. Where you once wrestled internally, clarity now arrives calmly. This peace is not passivity, it is assurance. God confirms alignment not through noise, but through stillness that settles doubt. Trust that peace. It is guidance. There will be times when God asks you to release what feels secure in order to step into what is significant. This requires faith beyond logic. But remember, God never removes without replacing. What you let go of creates space for what carries greater impact. Trust the exchange. God always upgrades purposefully. You are also being taught how to listen beyond words. God communicates through patterns, timing, restraint, and conviction. Your awareness is sharpening. You will recognize direction without needing constant confirmation. This maturity allows you to move confidently, even when the path unfolds gradually. God is reshaping your relationship with time. Urgency is giving way to intentionality. You are no longer measuring progress by speed, but by alignment. When alignment is right, progress is inevitable. This perspective protects you from comparison and keeps your focus clear. Expect moments where gratitude overwhelms you unexpectedly. Not because everything is perfect, but because you recognize how far you've come. Gratitude will rise naturally as awareness deepens. Let it flow freely. Gratitude strengthens connection and keeps perspective intact. God is also reminding you that stewardship includes boundaries. Saying no is sometimes obedience. Protecting your peace is responsibility. Not every demand deserves access. God values your focus. Guard it wisely. As resources increase, so will accountability. This is not pressure, it is trust. God entrusts more. To those who handle well what they already carry, you have proven consistent, you have remained faithful. Now expansion follows naturally. You may encounter moments where the old version of you tries to resurface. Old fears, old habits, old doubts. Acknowledge them without engaging. They no longer define you. Growth does not erase history, but it repositions it. Your past is a reference, not a residence. God is establishing longevity in what you build. This is not a fleeting season. Foundations are being reinforced. Systems are being aligned. What grows now will endure because it is rooted in wisdom, not impulse. There will be a quiet joy that settles into your life, not excitement that fades, but contentment that remains. This joy does not depend on outcomes. It flows from trust. God's presence within your journey sustains it. Remain attentive. Remain obedient, remain grateful. The path ahead is unfolding with intention. God is not improvising. God is executing a plan marked by precision, care, and purpose. What continues from here will carry depth, stability, and meaning far beyond what the eye can see. Now let this truth settle deeply and permanently within you. What God has begun will not be interrupted, reversed, or diminished. This is not a temporary surge or an emotional moment. It is a settled reality unfolding with intention. God does not initiate without completion. God does not release without sustaining. The flow you are entering is governed by divine consistency, not human uncertainty. What changes now is not just your circumstances, but your expectation. You will wake up no longer bracing for loss, but prepared for stewardship. Carry this season with reverence. Walk gently, wisely, and confidently. Do not rush ahead of God and do not lag behind out of fear. Stay in step. When you move, move with clarity. When you wait, wait with trust. God is attentive to every detail of your journey. Nothing escapes divine awareness. Nothing unfolds without purpose. Let your life become quiet evidence of God's faithfulness. Not loud declarations, but steady outcomes. Not forced displays, but consistent fruit. Peace in your decisions. Order in your finances. Generosity in your actions. Stability in your future. These will speak louder than words ever could. Remember always that provision is a servant, not a ruler. God remains central. God remains supreme. When that order is protected, blessing remains pure and powerful. You will not be shaken by gain or loss because your foundation is unmovable. What unfolds next will confirm what your spirit already knows. You were never forgotten, never delayed without reason, never overlooked. God was aligning, refining, preparing, and now the release matches the readiness. Stand firm, stay grateful, walk forward without fear. God is faithful, and the work now in motion will continue to unfold with precision, peace, and lasting impact. Listen to me carefully, because this is not a message for everyone. This is not a message for the crowd. This is a message that arrests the soul. There are moments when God places a mark upon a person that cannot be erased by time, cannot be diluted by opposition, and cannot be misunderstood by destiny itself. Some of you have felt it without knowing how to name it. Some of you have carried it quietly, wondering why your life never fit the ordinary path. Tonight, I speak to those who sense that there is a 1 in a million mark resting upon their left hand, not as superstition, not as chance, but as a divine signature from God who never creates without intention. From the moment you were formed, God was not experimenting, He was declaring. God does not mass-produce destinies. God crafts assignments. When others were shaped for survival, you were shaped for significance. That mark is not visible to the natural eye, but it is recognized in the spiritual realm. It is the reason opposition found you early. It is the reason pressure followed you even when you did nothing to invite it. It is the reason your spirit has never been satisfied with shallow living. God placed something upon you that refuses to live small. Many people think greatness is loud, but God often marks His chosen in silence. The left hand represents what you do not lead with, what you do not announce, what you do not boast about. God hides power in what the world overlooks. While others chase recognition, God deposits distinction. While others seek approval, God seals authority. That mark is not for display, it is for activation. It is not for pride, it is for purpose. And until the right moment, God allows the world to misunderstand you. You have wondered why your journey feels delayed. You have asked why doors seem to close just as you approach them. You have questioned why you feel ahead in vision, but behind in manifestation. Hear this clearly. Delay is not denial when God is the one managing the timeline. God delays not because He is uncertain, but because He is precise. He waits until your strength matches your calling, until your humility can carry your influence, until your obedience can sustain your elevation. The mark on your life demands preparation before promotion. Some of you survived what should have destroyed you. You walked through seasons that stripped you, pressed you, and nearly silenced you. But the mark protected you. God allowed the fire, but guarded your core. God allowed the storm, but anchored your spirit. What others did not survive, you endured because you were never ordinary. You were preserved because you are positioned. You were spared because you are assigned. God does not rescue what He has not already selected. That 1 in a million mark is why your conscience is sensitive. It is why compromise makes you restless. It is why you cannot enjoy what others celebrate when it is empty of purpose. God marked you with discernment before He entrusted you with direction. You feel things deeply because God intends you to carry weighty matters. You see beyond surfaces because God trained your eyes for depth. Do not curse your sensitivity. It is proof of your selection. There is a reason isolation has been a familiar companion. God often separates before He elevates. Before God announces, He hides. Before God reveals, He refines. The mark attracts solitude because destiny requires clarity. When voices are too many, purpose becomes diluted. God removes distractions not as punishment, but as protection. He withdraws you so He can speak without interference. And in the quiet, He writes instructions upon your spirit. Many of you were born into environments that did not nurture your calling. God did that on purpose. He wanted your dependence to be vertical, not horizontal. He wanted your confidence to come from His voice, not human applause. When support was absent, God was present. When affirmation was missing, God was forming. When understanding was scarce, God was shaping endurance. Your survival is evidence that God has been tutoring you personally. This mark is why you cannot fully explain yourself to others. Your language sounds strange to those without vision. Your discipline looks excessive to those without assignment. Your refusal to settle confuses those who live comfortably beneath their potential. But God did not mark you to blend in. He marked you to stand out without striving. He marked you to influence without imitation. He marked you to move when He speaks, not when the crowd approves. Do not mistake opposition as disqualification. Opposition is confirmation. When resistance increases, it is because relevance is near. God allows pressure to reveal capacity. He allows conflict to expose calling. The weight you carry is proportionate to the impact you will release. If your life feels heavy, it is because it holds value. If your path feels narrow, it is because it leads somewhere precise. God never burdens the unchosen with sacred responsibility. Some of you have been underestimated repeatedly. People saw your past and ignored your potential. They saw your silence and assumed weakness. They saw your patience and mistook it for passivity. But God saw obedience. God saw restraint. God saw trust. And while others spoke prematurely, God waited intentionally. He knows when to unveil what He has concealed. When God reveals you, explanation will be unnecessary. The mark on your left hand means you were built to handle what others avoid. You can sit with discomfort without losing faith. You can wait without growing bitter. You can stand alone without collapsing inward. God designed your inner world to be strong enough to hold outer success. He trained you to listen before leading, to obey before commanding, to serve before being seen. That is why your rise will be steady, not sudden, and lasting, not fragile. You have questioned why your prayers sound different, why your requests are not shallow, why your hunger is not satisfied by temporary answers. It is because God tuned your spirit to eternity. You do not ask merely for relief, you ask for alignment. You do not desire escape, you desire assignment. God marked you with the hunger that only purpose can feed. That hunger is not a curse, it is a compass. There were moments when you thought you were losing time, but God was redeeming understanding. While others were racing ahead without direction, God was anchoring you in truth. Speed without clarity leads to collapse. God slowed you down so you would not outrun your wisdom. He kept you waiting so you would not arrive empty. When you move now, you will move with authority, not anxiety. The mark also means responsibility. God does not mark without expectation. He watches how you respond to pressure, how you treat those beneath you, how you honor Him when no one is watching. Integrity is the currency of elevation. God examines your hidden decisions more than your public declarations. He measures your obedience in private before He grants you influence in public. The mark demands consistency, not convenience. Some of you carry guilt from past failures, thinking you disqualified yourself. But God's mark is stronger than your mistakes. He knew your weakness before He chose you. He accounted for your growth before He assigned your destiny. Repentance restores alignment, not perfect. God does not erase the mark because of missteps. He uses correction to refine the carrier. Your past did not cancel your future. It clarified your dependence. You were not marked to compete. You were marked to complete. There is an assignment that will remain unfinished unless you obey. Someone's breakthrough is connected to your faithfulness. Someone's direction is tied to your courage. Someone's restoration is waiting for your obedience. God placed the mark, not just for your benefit, but for the impact you will release into others. Destiny is never selfish. There will be seasons when the mark feels heavy, when obedience costs more than comfort, when silence is harder than speaking, when waiting stretches your patience thin. But remember this, God never abandons what He marks. His presence accompanies His purpose. His strength sustains His selection. When you feel weak, His power compensates. When you feel unsure, His wisdom intervenes. You do not need to chase validation. God's recognition is sufficient. You do not need to force doors. God opens at the appointed time. You do not need to prove your worth. God already declared it when He marked you. Rest in His timing, but remain diligent in preparation. Faithfulness in the unseen prepares you for impact in the visible. The 1 in a million mark is also a call to separation, Not isolation from people, but separation from compromise. You cannot live by the same standards and carry a different assignment. God's mark requires discipline of thought, discipline of speech, discipline of action. What you tolerate determines what you carry. What you allow shapes what you become. Guard your spirit carefully. As you mature, you will notice your desires shifting. What once excited you will no longer satisfy you. This is not loss, it is alignment. God removes appetites that distract from purpose. He replaces noise with clarity. He replaces ambition with obedience. He replaces striving with trust. Let go without fear. What God removes cannot sustain what He is building. There will come a moment when the mark begins to manifest outwardly. Opportunities will align unexpectedly. Doors will open without manipulation. Favor will locate you without effort. When that time comes, remember the hidden seasons. Remember the quiet obedience. Remember the nights when only God knew your struggle. Stay humble. Stay dependent. Stay grateful. The mark attracts increase, but humility sustains it. Do not rush your unveiling. God reveals in layers, not all at once. Each season builds upon the last. Each step strengthens your capacity. Each challenge sharpens your discernment. Trust the process. God is not late. God is exact. When He brings you forward, it will be undeniable and irreversible. The mark on your left hand is a reminder that God works through what the world overlooks, that He empowers what seems insignificant, that He elevates what remains faithful. You were chosen not because you were perfect, but because you were willing to listen, willing to wait, willing to obey. There is a deeper dimension to this mark that many have not yet understood. It is not merely about destiny, it is about trust. God does not place a 1 in a million mark on those He does not trust. Trust is built through surrender, through obedience when the instruction is uncomfortable, through faith when the evidence is absent. God watches how you respond when no one is applauding, when no one is affirming, when the reward seems distant. The mark responds to faithfulness. It becomes brighter when obedience is quiet and unwavering. This mark also speaks of stewardship. God never marks someone for personal glory alone. He marks vessels who can carry responsibility without corruption. You are being shaped not just to or receive, but to manage, to distribute, to guide, to protect. That is why God has been careful with your growth. Too much exposure too early would have damaged what He intends to preserve. God would rather keep you hidden than allow you to be visible and broken. There are times when you feel an internal pressure, a holy restlessness that refuses comfort. That is not dissatisfaction with life, it is alignment with purpose. God stirs the marked so they do not settle prematurely. He unsettles you so you keep moving toward what He has prepared. Comfort can be the enemy of calling when it arrives before completion. God allows dissatisfaction to keep your vision sharp. This mark also grants you spiritual authority long before you realize it. Authority does not come from position, it comes from alignment. When your will bows to God's will, authority begins to flow through your obedience. Even your silence carries weight. Even your presence shifts atmospheres. Even your prayers move unseen structures. The mark activates influence that does not need permission from people, only alignment with God. There is also a refining aspect to this mark that many struggle to accept. God corrects those He marks. He disciplines those He trusts. When God interrupts your plans, it is not rejection, it is redirection. When He exposes your motives, it is not condemnation, it is purification. Correction is proof that God is invested in your future. Indifference would be far more dangerous. Some of you have been misunderstood at critical moments. Your intentions were questioned, your heart misread, your silence interpreted incorrectly. God allowed that misunderstanding to teach you reliance on Him alone. If everyone understood you, you might seek validation instead of direction. God allows misinterpretation to sever unhealthy dependencies. Your identity must be anchored in His voice, not hum and opinion. The mark also attracts responsibility for timing. Not everything you see is meant to be spoken immediately. Not every revelation is meant to be shared publicly. God entrusts you with insight, not for display, but for discernment. Wisdom knows when to speak and when to wait. The marked learn restraint before release. Timing is as sacred as truth. You may notice that your victories often come quietly. There is no announcement, no spectacle, no crowd cheering. That is intentional. God trains the mark to value substance over spectacle. Loud victories can feed pride. Quiet victories build character. God knows how much celebration your spirit can handle without distraction. He gives you what strengthens you, not what entertains you. The mark also positions you as a bridge. You will stand between broken and restored, between confusion and clarity, between fear and faith. You will understand both sides because you have walked through tension yourself. God allows you to experience complexity so you can carry compassion without compromise. You are not called to judge. You are called to guide with truth and mercy. There will be moments when you feel the weight of expectation pressing on you. That weight is not meant to crush you, it is meant to anchor you. Responsibility keeps you grounded. It reminds you that your life is not accidental, that your choices echo beyond you. God's mark is a reminder that what you do matters, how you live matters, how you respond matters. As time progresses, you will notice that God begins to trust you with more clarity. Direction will come with less confusion. Decisions will require less struggle. This is not because the journey becomes easier, but because your alignment becomes stronger. Obedience sharpens discernment. Faithfulness strengthens hearing. The more you walk with God, the clearer His guidance becomes. Do not fear seasons of pruning. God removes what drains your strength, so what remains can bear fruit. Loss is not always punishment. Sometimes it is preparation. God knows exactly what must be released for you to move forward unburdened. What leaves your life at God's instruction cannot sustain your future anyway. The mark also calls you to courage. There will be moments when standing with God means standing alone. When truth costs relationships, when obedience challenges comfort. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is loyalty to God in the presence of fear. God does not expect perfection. He expects faithfulness. Each courageous step strengthens the mark's influence. As the seasons unfold, you will see how God weaves every experience into purpose. Nothing is wasted. No pain is meaningless. No delay is empty. God uses what hurt you to equip you. He uses what challenged you to prepare you. He uses what confused you to sharpen your clarity. The mark ensures redemption of every season. One day you will look back and understand why God protected you from certain paths, why certain doors never opened, why certain connections dissolved. At the time, it felt like loss. In truth, it was preservation. God guarded your destiny even when you could not see the danger. Gratitude will replace confusion when understanding arrives. The mark on your left hand is not a promise of ease. It is a promise of purpose. It is an invitation to walk closely with God, to live intentionally, to choose obedience daily. The mark does not exempt you from struggle. It empowers you to endure it. God's strength flows most clearly through surrendered vessels. Remain attentive to God's voice. Remain sensitive to His correction. Remain faithful in small assignments. The mark grows stronger through obedience, not ambition. When God decides to fully reveal what He has placed upon you, it will be evident that your journey was guided, protected, and authored by Him alone. There is another truth the marked must confront. God does not reveal the full weight of the assignment at once, because revelation without readiness can overwhelm the soul. God unveils purpose progressively, layer by layer, according to your capacity to carry it. If you knew everything too early, fear would interfere with obedience. So God speaks in fragments, guides in steps, and confirms along the way. Trust grows in stages, and so does clarity. What you know now is sufficient for the step you are on. The mark also places you under divine observation. God watches the marked closely, not to accuse, but to align. He notices how you respond when plans collapse, how you speak when frustrated, how you treat people who cannot advance you. These moments shape your future authority. Power without character collapses, but character formed under pressure endures. God is shaping you to stand when others fall. You may have noticed that shortcuts never work for you. What others get away with costs you peace. What others compromise without consequence unsettles your spirit. That is because God has placed boundaries around you. Not restrictions, but protection. The mark limits certain freedoms so you do not lose direction. God guards you from paths that would dilute your assignment. This mark also awakens a deep sense of accountability. You feel responsible not just for your actions, but for your influence. Words matter to you. Choices weigh heavily. You sense the ripple effect of decisions. That awareness is not anxiety, it is stewardship. God entrusts influence only to those who understand its weight. Carelessness cannot coexist with calling. There will be times when God calls you to obedience that feels illogical. Instructions that contradict common sense, steps that appear risky without visible assurance. This is where the mark is tested. Faith is proven not when the path is clear, but when obedience precedes understanding. God reveals the next step only after the previous one is taken. Trust is built through movement, not certainty. The mark also requires endurance. God's promises unfold through perseverance, not impulse. The marked are trained to remain consistent when results are delayed. Persistence refines faith. Waiting strengthens resolve. God uses time as a tool, not an obstacle. What matures slowly develops roots that cannot be easily shaken. You may feel at times that you are carrying more than others, that you are expected to handle pressure with grace while others are excused. That expectation is not unfairness, it is preparation. God knows your capacity even when you doubt it. He allows weight to build strength. He allows resistance to develop resilience. You are being trained for longevity, not momentary success. The mark also sets you apart in your thinking. You do not merely react, you reflect. You do not rush, you discern. You do not follow trends blindly, you seek truth. God renews your mind so your actions reflect His wisdom. Transformation begins internally before it manifests externally. Your thoughts shape your direction. At times, you may grieve what you cannot return to. Old versions of yourself, old seasons, old comforts. That grief is part of transition. God does not drag the marked into the future. He invites them forward. Letting go requires trust that what lies ahead is greater than what lies behind. God never asks you to release something without preparing something better. The mark also draws you into deeper intimacy with God. Surface-level faith cannot sustain a weighty calling. God invites the marked into closeness, into listening, into quiet dependence. In that place, fear loses its grip, and confidence is rooted not in ability, but in trust. Intimacy strengthens obedience. Relationship fuels endurance. You will encounter moments when your faith is tested by silence, when prayers seem unanswered, When guidance feels delayed, silence does not mean absence. Often God is working beyond your perception. Silence stretches faith beyond emotion. It teaches you to trust God's character, not just His responses. The marked learn to stand even when reassurance is quiet. This mark also prepares you for seasons of responsibility that require emotional maturity. You will face criticism without becoming defensive. You will lead without becoming controlling. You will correct without becoming harsh. God refines your heart so your authority heals rather than harms. Leadership without compassion wounds. Compassion without truth misleads. God balances both within you. There will be moments when God asks you to release control, to surrender outcomes, to trust Him with results. Control feels safe, but it limits growth. Surrender feels risky, but it invites divine intervention. The mark learned that obedience is their responsibility. Outcomes are God's. Freedom comes when you release what you were never meant to carry. The mark also aligns you with divine timing. You begin to sense when to move and when to wait, when to speak and when to remain silent. Timing preserves impact. Truth spoken at the wrong moment can be rejected. Wisdom knows when hearts are ready. God trains your discernment so your actions align with His purposes. As you grow, you will notice that God shifts your definition of success. It becomes less about visibility and more about obedience. Less about applause and more about alignment. Less about accumulation and more about impact. God reshapes your values so your joy is not dependent on external affirmation. Fulfillment comes from faithfulness. The mark also demands vigilance, not paranoia, but awe. Readiness, guard your spirit. Protect your focus. Be mindful of influences that drain rather than develop you. What you entertain shapes what you become. God calls the marked to intentional living, where choices are filtered through purpose, not impulse. There will be seasons when God surprises you with sudden clarity, unexpected favor, and accelerated progress. These moments are not random. They are results of accumulated obedience. Faithfulness compounds over time. What looks sudden to others is often the outcome of long preparation. God honors consistency. Remember this, the mark is not a burden to fear, but a calling to honor. God has placed His trust upon you. Walk worthy of that trust, not through perfection, but through humility. Return to Him when you stumble. Listen when He corrects. Move when He directs. The mark will continue to unfold as you remain aligned with God, step by step, season by season, purpose upon purpose. There is a dimension of this mark that reaches beyond your lifetime. God never marks someone for a moment alone. He marks for generations. What He is doing in you is larger than what you will personally enjoy. The obedience you practice today builds pathways for those who will come after you. God weaves legacy through faithfulness. The mark ensures that your life becomes a reference point, a silent testimony that God can be trusted when no proof is visible. This is why God teaches the mark to value righteousness over recognition. Recognition fades, but righteousness sustains. When your inner life is aligned, your outer influence remains stable. God is more concerned with who you are becoming than what you are achieving. Achievement without alignment produces emptiness. Alignment without applause produces peace. God anchors the marked in truth, so success does not distort their identity. There are unseen battles connected to the mark, not battles of fear, but battles of focus. Distractions come subtly, wearing the mask of opportunity. Not every open door is assigned. Not every invitation is aligned. God sharpens your discernment so you choose purpose over popularity. The mark learned to ask not, can I, but should I? Obedience refines choice. The left hand carries symbolism of support, of steadiness, of what holds while the other acts. God marked your support system first, your character, your convictions, your discipline. Before He entrusts visible influence, He strengthens the unseen framework. When pressure comes, you will not collapse because your foundation was reinforced quietly. God builds from the inside out. You will notice that generosity becomes natural to you, not forced. God trains the marked to release freely because tight hands cannot carry sacred trust. What you cling to controls you. What you release positions you. Generosity is not only material, it is generosity of patience, of forgiveness, of wisdom. God flows through open vessels. There will be moments when God invites you to intercede silently, to carry burdens that are not your own, to stand in the gap without recognition. This is part of the mark's responsibility. Intercession shapes outcomes you may never witness. God honors prayers spoken in secret. He moves in response to hearts aligned with His compassion. The mark also cultivates emotional discipline. You learn not to be ruled by impulse or reaction. When provoked, you pause. When praised, you remain grounded. When criticized, you reflect rather than retaliate. God teaches mastery of self before entrusting influence over others. Stability becomes your signature. You may feel at times that your growth is invisible, that others advance while you remain unseen. But God measures progress differently. He measures depth, not display. He measures faithfulness, not frequency. Roots grow in darkness before branches appear in light. Trust the process beneath the surface. The marked are taught to honor truth even when it is inconvenient. Truth preserves integrity. Compromise erodes clarity. God's guidance remains clear when your conscience is clean. Guard truth in thought, in speech, in action. What you conceal grows in power. What you confront loses control. God leads through honesty. There will be seasons when God asks you to rest, not because the work is finished, but because trust must be renewed. Rest is an act of faith. It declares that God governs outcomes. Exhaustion clouds discernment. God restores clarity through stillness. The marked learn to pause without guilt. As your journey unfolds, you will see how God connects you with people who refine rather than flatter. Not many, but precise. Relationships chosen by God sharpen vision and correct blind spots. God values quality over quantity in connection. Protect these relationships. They are part of your covering. The mark also attracts moments of testing where values collide with advantage. Choosing integrity may cost you opportunity. Choosing obedience may delay reward. These moments define trajectory. God honors decisions that align with His nature. Short-term loss often secures long-term stability. You will recognize that fear loses its authority as trust deepens. Courage grows not from confidence in self, but confidence in God. Fear diminishes when obedience becomes habit. Each step taken in faith strengthens the next. God meets you in motion. The mark prepares you to carry truth with humility. Knowledge without humility creates division. Wisdom delivered with grace creates transformation. God entrusts you with insight so you can illuminate, not intimidate. Influence that heals multiplies. Influence that dominates diminishes. You will encounter moments when silence is wreck. You ired, even when you have clarity. God teaches restraint to protect timing. Speaking too soon can hinder what God is developing. Silence is not weakness, it is wisdom under discipline. God knows when the season is right. As the years progress, you will see how God orchestrates convergence, moments where preparation meets opportunity seamlessly. What seems sudden is actually alignment perfected. God synchronizes events with precision. Stay faithful, alignment arrives quietly before it manifests visibly. The mark is a reminder that your life is held, guided, and governed by God. Walk steadily. Remain attentive. Let faith shape every decision. Let obedience define every step. The mark continues to work, shaping outcomes, aligning paths, strengthening resolve, revealing purpose, deepening trust, and unfolding God's intention through your life without interruption. So stand with awareness, not arrogance, knowing that the mark upon you was not placed lightly. God marked you with intention, guarded you with wisdom, and guided you through seasons that shaped your endurance. Every step, every pause, every redirection carried meaning. You were never wandering, you were being led. Even when you did not understand the path, God understood the destination. Carry the mark with reverence. Let it remind you that obedience is sacred, that humility is strength, that faithfulness is never unnoticed. When the world pressures you to rush, remember that God moves with precision. When doubt whispers that the journey is too long, remember that God measures time differently. What feels slow to you is steady in His hands. Walk forward without fear. You do not need to strive to be chosen. You already are. You do not need to prove the mark. It speaks through your life. Let your choices reflect trust. Let your patience reflect confidence. Let your obedience reflect alignment. God does not abandon what He marks, and He does not fail what He appoints. Remain rooted, remain yielded. Let your life testify quietly that God is faithful, that His guidance is sure, that His purpose unfolds without error. The mark continues to work in you, through you, and beyond you, according to God's wisdom, God's timing, and God's will. If this message reaches you before the 4th day of January in the year 2026, then stop everything you are doing and listen with your whole heart, because this is not an accident, this is not timing, this is not coincidence, this is not chance, this is a divine interruption orchestrated by God Himself. And the very fact that your eyes are seeing these words and your spirit is sensing something stir within you is proof that God has already stepped ahead of your future and planted a signpost saying, this one is marked, this one is chosen, this one is being prepared. Many messages pass through your life. Many voices compete for your attention. Many words rise and fall like noise in the wind. But this moment is different because God does not waste divine alignment. And when He allows a message like this to reach you at this precise moment in history, it is because something in your life is about to shift. Something unseen is already moving. And something that once felt delayed is now being accelerated by His hand. I want you to understand something deeply and without doubt. God is not late. God is not confused. God is not reacting to circumstances. And God is not waiting for permission from the world to bless you. God operates outside of calendars, outside of deadlines, outside of systems created by people, and yet He enters time at the exact moment that produces maximum impact. If this message reaches you before the 4th of January, it means God is speaking before the year fully settles, before routines lock in, before doubts regain their voice, before fear rebuilds its throne, and before discouragement convinces you that nothing will change. God is speaking now because He wants you to step into the coming days with alignment, with clarity, and with unshakable faith that what He has declared over your life cannot be canceled by delay, denied by opposition, or destroyed by past mistakes. There are people listening to these words who have carried silent burdens through the previous year, burdens you never spoke about, battles you never announced, nights where your tears became prayers because words failed you. God saw every moment. He saw the exhaustion you carried with a smile. He saw the faith you held together even when answers did not come. He saw you show up when you felt empty. And hear this clearly: God does not overlook endurance. God does not forget faithfulness. God does not ignore obedience done in the dark. The reason this message has found you now is because God is preparing to honor what you survived without applause and reward what you endured without recognition. Some of you entered the last year believing it would be your breakthrough year, and instead it became your refining year. You expected celebration, but you received confrontation. You expected expansion, but you faced pruning. You expected open doors, but you walked through narrow passages that tested your patience, your trust, and your resolve. And yet, here you are, still believing, still hoping, still listening. That alone tells me that God has preserved something powerful inside you. God does not preserve what He does not plan to use. God does not sustain what He does not intend to elevate. God does not keep you breathing, believing, and reaching if He plans to leave you where you are. I want to speak directly to your spirit now. Not to your emotions, not to your logic, not to your fear. God is not finished with you. God is not finished with your story. God is not finished with what He promised you. And the reason He is speaking before the 4th of January is because this is a moment of divine repositioning. God is aligning your heart before He aligns your circumstances. God is adjusting your vision before He adjusts your environment. God is strengthening your inner world before He transforms your outer world, because what He is about to release requires maturity, faith, and endurance that can only be built in seasons of waiting. You must understand that delay is not denial when God is involved. Delay is development. Delay is preparation. Delay is God enlarging your capacity so that when the blessing arrives, it does not crush you, corrupt you, or distract you from Him. Some blessings come too early and destroy people. Some doors open too soon lead to regret instead of rejoicing. God delays not to punish you, but to protect you. And if this message reaches you now, it is because protection has done its work, preparation has reached its fullness, and positioning is nearly complete. There are voices that try to convince you to lower your expectations, to settle for less, to accept limitation as reality, but God never asked you to shrink your faith to match your circumstances. God asks you to expand your faith to match His nature. And His nature is abundance, faithfulness, power, wisdom, and perfect timing. What God has planned for you does not need approval from people, does not need validation from systems, and does not need permission from history. When God decides it is time, resistance becomes irrelevant. Some of you are standing at the edge of a decision you have postponed because fear whispered consequences louder than faith whispered promise. God is speaking now to remind you that obedience precedes clarity. You do not always receive full understanding before you move. Sometimes God reveals the path one step at a time, because walking by faith trains your spirit to rely on Him rather than outcomes. If this message reaches you now, it is because God is saying, trust me with the next step. I will handle the rest. You have to realize that God measures success differently than the world does. The world measures by speed, visibility, applause, and numbers. God measures by obedience, humility, endurance, and alignment. Some of the most powerful transformations happen quietly before they manifest publicly. And what you cannot yet see is not absent. It is incubating. God often works underground before He allows growth to break the surface. Roots grow in darkness before fruit appears in light. And if you have been hidden overlooked, or underestimated, it is because God has been strengthening your foundation. This message is reaching you now because God wants to shift how you see yourself. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not disqualified. You are not running out of time. You are right where God can reach you, shape you, and elevate you. The timeline of God does not compete with human calendars. When God moves, one moment can restore what years seem to steal. One decision can unlock what decades delayed. One alignment can change the direction of your entire life. I sense strongly that many listening have been battling internal conflict, questioning whether your faith was enough, whether your prayers were heard, whether your sacrifices matter. Let me speak with authority into that doubt. God heard every prayer. God counted every sacrifice. God honored every moment you chose faith over fear. Silence from God is not absence, it is strategy. Sometimes God is quiet because He is working on things you cannot interfere with. Sometimes God withholds explanation because explanation would distract you from trust. You must also understand that not everything that left your life was lost. Some departures were deliverance. Some endings were protection. Some closed doors were mercy disguised as disappointment. God removes what would hinder you from entering what He has prepared. And if you are still grieving something that ended, God is asking you to trust that He sees what you could not see. What you thought you lost may have been what was limiting you. If this message reaches you before the 4th of January, it is because God wants to set the tone of your faith before the year defines you. God wants you to enter the coming days not reacting to circumstances, but responding to His voice. Faith is not denial of reality, it is alignment with a higher authority. And when your faith aligns with God, reality must eventually follow. Some of you have been faithful in small things, consistent in unseen responsibilities, disciplined in private obedience. God sees that, God honors that, and promotion in God's system does not come from striving, it comes from stewardship. If you have managed what was placed in your hands with integrity, God will entrust you with more. Expansion is coming, but expansion always follows preparation. There are people listening who have been praying for clarity about their purpose. You want direction, confirmation, assurance. God is saying that purpose is revealed through obedience, not analysis. Move where He tells you to move. Speak when He tells you to speak. Wait when He tells you to wait. Purpose unfolds in motion, not stagnation. And this message reaching you now is a confirmation that you are closer than you think. You must guard your heart in this season. What God is preparing to release can be delayed by doubt, distraction, or disobedience. Protect your peace, protect your faith, protect your focus. Not everyone needs access to your process. Not every opinion deserves space in your mind. God did not call a crowd to shape your destiny. He called you to listen to Him. There is also a warning wrapped in this encouragement. Do not let familiarity make you casual with God. Do not let routine replace reverence. Do not let past blessings make you complacent. Every new season requires fresh surrender. Every new level requires deeper humility. God resists pride, but He empowers those who remain teachable and dependent on Him. If this message has reached you now, it is because God is calling you into alignment before acceleration. Speed without direction leads to destruction. Growth without grounding leads to collapse. God is intentional, and His preparation is precise. What feels slow now is saving you from pain later. You may not feel strong, but strength is not the absence of weakness. It is the decision to trust God despite it. You may not feel ready, but readiness is built through obedience, not confidence. God does not call the qualified, He qualifies the willing. And willingness is what God sees in you right now. I want you to hear this clearly. The next season of your life will require courage, not comfort. Faith, not familiarity. Obedience, not convenience. God is inviting you into something that will stretch you, challenge you, and refine you. But it will also fulfill you in ways comfort never could. This message reaching you before the 4th of January is God's way of saying, prepare your heart, adjust your expectations, strengthen your faith. What I am about to do will require you to trust me fully. You are not stepping into ordinary days, you are stepping into days where obedience will matter more than explanation and faith will matter more than feelings. Let go of the need to control outcomes. Control is often disguised fear. Trust is surrender rooted in confidence in God's nature. When you release control, you make room for God's power to operate fully. And God's power is not limited by what you can see. You are entering a season where what once resisted, you will begin to cooperate. Where doors that remained closed will respond to the authority of God. Where provision will meet obedience, and where clarity will follow commitment. But you must remain anchored in God, not outcomes. Gratitude must come before manifestation. Praise must precede proof. Some of you have been waiting for a sign. This is it. Not because of the words themselves, but because of what they awaken in you. God often speaks through confirmation rather than spectacle. A quiet knowing can be more powerful than a dramatic display. And if something in your spirit is stirring, that is God confirming alignment. Do not carry the weight of the future alone. God never intended you to. Cast your worries onto Him. Release the pressure to have everything figured out. Faith does not demand answers, it demands trust. And trust opens doors that knowledge cannot. You are not late. You are not early. You are on time in God's timing. And when God says it is time, nothing can stop it. Not history, not opposition, not limitation, not fear. What God has ordained will come to pass. Let this message mark a shift in your mind. Set. Let it silence the voice of doubt. Let it strengthen your resolve. Let it remind you that God's plans are not fragile. They do not collapse under pressure. They do not fail under resistance. They stand firm because they are rooted in His authority. As you move forward, choose obedience over understanding, faith over fear, patience over panic, and trust over control. God is faithful. God is intentional. God is present, and He is leading you even when the path feels unclear, even when the pace feels slow, even when the outcome feels distant. There is a seriousness to this moment that must not be ignored, because God does not speak casually, and He does not interrupt your life without purpose. When God sends a word ahead of time, it is because He is giving you the advantage of preparation. Many people stumble into seasons unprepared and then blame circumstances for the weight they cannot carry. But God, in His mercy, speaks before the shift so your inner foundation can be strengthened. What is coming will require spiritual weight, not emotional excitement. It will demand discipline, not impulse. It will require trust, not visibility. And God is building that strength in you now. You must understand that faith is not a feeling that comes and goes with circumstances. Faith is a decision to align your inner posture with the authority of God, regardless of what your senses report. There will be moments ahead when your emotions will lag behind your obedience, when your mind will question what your spirit already knows. In those moments, you must remember that God is not moved by panic, and He is not threatened by uncertainty. He is steady, He is constant, and He remains faithful even when you feel unstable. Anchoring yourself in God is not about escaping difficulty. It is about standing firm while difficulty passes through without destroying you. There are unseen battles that God has already fought on your behalf. There are conversations you never heard, paths that were blocked before you reached them, and consequences that were quietly diverted. God's protection is often invisible, but it is always intentional. Some of the frustration you felt was not resistance, it was redirection. God was steering you away from outcomes that would have delayed your destiny. Trust that God knows not only where you are going, but also what you are not meant to carry with you. You are entering a season where discernment will matter more than enthusiasm. Not every opportunity is an assignment. Not every open door is from God. Discernment is the ability to recognize alignment, not just attraction. God does not rush you into confusion. His direction brings clarity, even when the path is challenging. If something demands you to compromise your integrity, abandon your values, or silence your conscience, it is not from God, no matter how promising it appears. God never contradicts His nature to bless you. There will be moments when obedience will feel costly. You may have to walk away from familiar environments, detach from voices that once guided you, or release habits that once comforted you. Do not mistake discomfort for danger. Growth always stretches before it stabilizes. God often dismantles what is familiar so He can introduce what is faithful. The temporary discomfort of obedience will always be lighter than the long-term burden of regret. Understand this deeply. God is not calling you to impress people. He is calling you to align with Him. Approval from others is unstable, fleeting, and conditional. Alignment with God is secure, sustaining, and eternal. When your decisions are guided by His direction rather than public opinion, you gain a freedom that no external validation can provide. God's affirmation carries more weight than applause. ND, His approval outlasts every trend. There is also a refining taking place in how you speak, how you think, and how you respond. Words carry spiritual weight. Complaints weaken faith, but gratitude strengthens it. Fear spoken aloud multiplies itself, but trust spoken aloud reinforces courage. God listens not only to what you ask, but to what you consistently declare. Align your speech with what God has promised, not with what circumstances threaten. Your voice can either agree with limitation or partner with faith. You may notice that certain relationships feel strained or distant. This is not always conflict. Sometimes it is transition. As God elevates your perspective, not everyone can follow where you are being led. This does not mean rejection. It means separation for alignment. God often reduces your circle before He expands your influence. Loneliness in transition is not abandonment, it is preparation. God will bring the right connections at the right time. Connections that strengthen rather than drain, that sharpen rather than confuse. Be mindful of impatience. Impatience can cause you to move ahead of God. And moving ahead of God often creates problems He never assigned you to solve. Waiting is not inactivity. It is disciplined trust. While you wait, God is working on details you cannot see. He is aligning timing, positioning people, and orchestrating outcomes that require precision. If you rush what God is perfecting, you may inherit responsibility without grace. You are not being prepared for small outcomes. God does not invest this level of instruction, refinement, and timing for minor assignments. What is coming will require leadership of the self before leadership of anything else. Authority without character collapses. Influence without humility corrupts. God builds character first because character sustains what success introduces. Remain teachable. Remain humble. Remain dependent on God even as doors begin to open. There will be moments when progress feels invisible. Do not equate silence with stagnation. Seeds grow underground long before they break the surface. Faithfulness in obscurity is still faithfulness. God measures growth internally before He displays it externally. Continue doing what God has instructed you to do, even when results are delayed. Consistency is often the evidence of trust. Guard against comparison. Comparison distorts perspective and robs joy. God's timeline for you is specific, intentional, and necessary. Looking sideways will only slow you down. Focus forward. Focus upward. Focus on what God is doing within you, not on what appears to be happening for others. What God has for you will arrive at the right moment, complete and lacking nothing. There is an invitation in this season to deepen your relationship with God beyond requests and results. Seek His presence, not just His provision. Learn His ways, not just His works. When your relationship with God is rooted in trust rather than transaction, your faith becomes unshakable. Even when circumstances fluctuate, your peace remains intact because it is anchored in Him, not outcomes. As you move closer to what God has prepared, resistance may increase. Do not be alarmed. Resistance often confirms proximity. Opposition does not mean you are off course. It often means you are advancing. Stay grounded. Stay prayerful. Stay obedient. God does not leave His people unsupported in critical moments. He provides strength equal to the assignment. Let your confidence come from God, not from certainty. Certainty can change, but God does not. When you rely on Him, you are not dependent on favorable conditions to move forward. You move forward because He has spoken. And when God speaks, obedience is the safest response. Remember that God's speciality is in restoration. What you thought was wasted can be redeemed. What you thought was lost can be restored. What you thought was broken beyond repair can be renewed. God does not recycle lives, He transforms them. Your past does not disqualify you, it informs you. God uses what you survive to shape how you lead, love, and serve. This is not a season to retreat. This is a season to rise with wisdom, not arrogance, with boldness, not recklessness, with faith, not presumption. Walk forward steadily, trust deeply, obey quickly. God is faithful to complete what He has started, and what He has started in you is far greater than what you can currently imagine. There is a refining of motives taking place now, and God is pressing gently but firmly on the inner places of your heart, because where you are going, intention matters as much as action. God does not bless ambition detached from humility, and He does not empower desire that is not anchored in purpose. Examine why you want what you are asking for, not to condemn you, but to align you. When your desire matches God's will, resistance loses its authority. God does not hesitate to act when the heart is clean, the intention is sincere, and the trust is complete. You must also learn to recognize the difference between pressure and purpose. Pressure demands haste and creates anxiety. Purpose produces peace even when the task is demanding. God's guidance may stretch you, but it will never suffocate you. If something is draining your spirit, stealing your peace, and pushing you into constant fear, pause and ask God for clarity. He is not the author of confusion. His direction carries weight, but it also carries assurance. This season will test how well you listen, not just to words, but to direction. God often speaks through conviction rather than volume. He nudges rather than shouts. Those who are sensitive to His guidance, He do not need dramatic signs. They recognize His voice in subtle alignment. Train yourself to respond quickly to His promptings. Delayed obedience weakens discernment. Immediate obedience strengthens it. There is also a call to discipline your inner life. Faith is strengthened through consistency, not intensity alone. Moments of passion are powerful, but habits of devotion sustain growth. Make room for God daily, not only when you are desperate or uncertain. A steady connection builds resilience. When challenges come, you will not scramble for faith. It will already be established within you. You are being invited to mature beyond emotional reactions. Emotions are real, but they are not reliable leaders. God's truth must guide your responses. There will be moments when your feelings suggest retreat, but God's direction will call you forward. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to obey God despite it. Each time you choose obedience over emotion, you strengthen your spiritual authority. Pay attention to how God is training you to handle responsibility. Responsibility is not about control, it is about stewardship. God entrusts influence to those who can carry it without losing integrity. How you handle small responsibilities reveals how you will manage greater ones. Faithfulness in what seems insignificant is often the gateway to what is significant. You may notice that God is teaching you to wait without complaining, to serve without recognition, and to trust without constant reassurance. These are not punishments, they are preparations. Complaining dulls spiritual sensitivity. Gratitude sharpens it. Even when you do not understand the process, choose gratitude. Gratitude keeps your heart aligned with God's goodness and opens your awareness to His activity. There will be moments when you are tempted to retreat into familiarity because growth feels uncertain. Familiarity feels safe, but it can quietly limit you. God does not call you to remain where you are comfortable if comfort restricts obedience. Growth requires release. Trust God enough to let go of what no longer aligns, even if it once served you well. You are also being trained to forgive quickly and deeply. Unforgiveness anchors you to the past and drains strength meant for the future. Forgiveness is not agreement, it is release. God cannot fully move you forward while your heart is bound to old wounds. Healing does not deny pain, it frees you from its control. Allow God to heal what you did not cause but have carried. Do not underestimate the power of consistency. Small, faithful actions repeated over time produce transformation. God often works through steady progress rather than sudden change. Keep showing up, keep believing, keep obeying. What feels ordinary now is building extraordinary strength within you. There is also a call to silence unnecessary noise. Too many voices can dilute direction. Limit the influence of those who speak fear, doubt, or cynicism into your life. Seek counsel that honors God, not opinion that feeds insecurity. God's direction becomes clearer when distractions are removed. As you advance, humility must remain your companion. Humility keeps you teachable. It keeps you dependent on God rather than on success. Pride isolates, humility protects. Remember that everything you receive is entrusted, not owned. Gratitude preserves blessing. Arrogance erodes it. You may encounter moments where progress feels slower than expected. Resist the urge to measure your journey by visible milestones alone. God often prioritizes depth over speed. What He is forming within you now will sustain what He reveals later. Shallow preparation leads to fragile outcomes. Deep formation produces lasting impact. Let your faith become practical. Trust God not only in prayer, but in decisions. Trust Him with how you respond to disappointment, how you manage resources, how you treat people, and how you handle delay. Faith that remains theoretical will weaken under pressure. Faith that is practiced becomes unshakable. You are being called to rise above fear-based living. Fear narrows vision and limits obedience. Trust expands perspective and invites courage. God does not lead through intimidation. He leads through assurance. When fear speaks loudly, return to what God has already proven. Reflection strengthens confidence. Stay alert to opportunities for obedience disguised as inconvenience. Some assignments will not look important, but they will be pivotal. God often tests faith through simple instructions. Do not dismiss small promptings. Obedience in small things unlocks greater clarity. Remember that God's promises are not fragile. They do not depend on perfect conditions. They withstand delay, opposition, and uncertainty. What God has spoken will stand, even if circumstances argue otherwise. Hold firmly to what He has placed in your heart. This is a season to walk steadily, not impulsively, to trust deeply, not occasionally, to obey fully, not selectively. God is guiding you with precision, and every step you take in alignment with Him strengthens your future. Keep your heart open, your spirit attentive, and your faith active. God is present in this process, shaping, guiding, and preparing you with intention and care. As you stand at the threshold of what is ahead, understand that this moment is sacred because awareness has been granted to you. God does not reveal without intention, and He does not prepare without promise. You are not being invited into speculation. You are being summoned into alignment. Everything you have heard is not meant to impress you, but to steady you. God is anchoring you so that when movement begins, you will not be shaken by speed, opposition, or responsibility. Stability now will become authority later. Let your heart settle into trust, not passive waiting, but active confidence. Trust that rests is not weak, it is disciplined. God is not asking you to strive harder, He is asking you to stay yielded longer. Yielding is strength under control. Yielding keeps you responsive rather than reactive. When you remain yielded, God can redirect without resistance and elevate without distortion. This posture will protect you in moments of increase and sustain you in moments of testing. Carry forward an awareness that God is attentive to every step you take in faith. Nothing is wasted. No obedience goes unnoticed. No sacrifice is overlooked. Even when progress feels quiet, God is counting every faithful choice. He is measuring your consistency, refining your discernment, and shaping your capacity. What you are becoming matters just as much as what you will receive. Let courage define your movement. Not loud courage, but steady courage. The courage to obey when outcomes are unclear. The courage to remain faithful when recognition is absent. The courage to trust God's wisdom over your own understanding. This kind of courage builds lives that endure. God strengthens those who lean into Him rather than those who rush ahead of Him. Keep your spirit soft and your faith firm. Soft enough to receive correction, firm enough to resist fear. God's guidance will continue to unfold, not all at once, but exactly when needed. Stay attentive, stay responsive, stay anchored. The days ahead are not random, they are ordered. God has gone before you, and He is walking with you, shaping each moment with intention, faithfulness, and power.